Hey, Cam.
Yes, Don.
Do you ever think about how crammed your trailer is when you go race?
Dude, all the time. Race cars, golf carts, jets, Power Wheels, and all of his toys, his little dirt bikes, his Strider bikes, all that stuff. I'm crammed. But I'm sure everybody in motorsports is feeling the same way.
Well, now our audience has someone to call. They need to call Lance at lbtrailers.com. Lance is carrying over 70 motorsports haulers in stock, options from top to bottom. We always talk about looking the part in motorsports, traveling up and down the road and at the track. Now you can look the part with LB Trailer Sales. Go to online to lbtrailers.com or stop by Facebook at LB Trailer Sales. You have a friend in the trailer business, and make sure to tell them that Racers and Rental Cars sent you.
Let's put it up for the weekend warriors.
It's the Racers and Rental Cars podcast with your host, Top Fuel Cam, Cameron Foray, and his co-host, Mr. Top Sportsman, Don O'Neill.
Keep on till they can't ignore you. Put it up for the weekend warriors.
Thank you for downloading today's episode of the Racers and Rental Cars podcast, brought to you in part by MotionRaceworks.com. Stop by Motion Raceworks for all your high-performance needs. If you need to go fast, visit MotionRaceworks.com today.
What's up, West Coast Cam?
Yeah, very, very little at this point in time. I can't go to work. I can't go race. I can't do shit.
Man, what a day it has been for everyone that is listening. Of course, they're listening on Saturday, and we're recording on Thursday, which is without a shadow of a doubt, March 12th is going to go down as an epic day in history of just all sports. I mean, of course, it's going to go down for education-wise, but for all sports, March 12th, mark it. It'll be a trivia pursuit question at some point. You might win a pitcher of beer or something, but this is going to go down in history. I cannot believe how many wheels have fallen off the wagon in the last 24 hours.
They must have been listening to our podcast recently or something. They just wanted all the dumpster fires.
Dude, we cannot top the dumpster fires that have been started in the last 24 hours.
Dude, I'll tell you, I will say, so for those of you that don't follow me on a regular basis, that's fine. But I literally went and gave my midterm for my students, let them go early because I had to haul us to the airport because I had a flight at I think it was 11:45 or noon or whatever. And literally waiting for my Uber and all that. And I called a couple people at the track. They're like, no, man, everything looks good. Cool. And I just had this feeling like when the NBA cancels their series and NASCAR doing their thing, IndyCar, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to freaking get to Florida from California and they're going to postpone this shit. Or I'm going to get to Texas on my layover and same thing. So by the grace of God, they decided to cancel it right before I flew out. So I didn't have to deal with all that travel nonsense. So thank you for that. But a lot of drivers, people were posting on my Instagram stuff like Langdon's stuck in Atlanta. Somebody else is stuck in, I don't know, wherever, Dallas. And I'm just like, man, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that and grateful. But yeah, it sucks, but that's such is life, right? I mean, I don't want to get sick. So, but dude, I got an email and they're even canceling class. I don't have to teach for the next couple weeks. So,
well, cool. I think the whole you don't have to teach could be debatable. We're not sure that you've been teaching. We understand that you go somewhere, but we're not really 100% sure, our audience, about your teaching.
I mean, you take it for what it's worth. So I'm still trying to figure out how to teach auto body with an online format for the rest of the semester. So that should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, good luck with that. And I mean, so, we're recording here 4:00 Central Time. NASCAR has decided that they're going to run the next 2 weeks without fans, but they're going to complete the events in one day, which I think is kind of cool. That's just awesome. If you really want to think about it, they're going to complete them as quickly as possible. NHRA, obviously, that's done. outdoor sports gathering. I just saw a release from Ohio that no gatherings over 100 people. So we're going to start feeling the pinch on recreational, if you will, sports for kids, soccer, baseball.
All that. Yeah. Supercross announced that there'll be no fans in where they at this weekend, Indy.
Yeah, I know they pulled the plug in Seattle. So I mean, and then of course everything down under with actually the first race car driver, as we're doing this today, McLaren had a driver that tested positive. So
really?
Yeah, so they pulled the plug on their deal. The NASCAR shops, I've been seeing posts on Twitter that faculty tours are done, shop tours are done, retail stores are being closed. They don't want people coming in and I guess infecting their race teams and the employees. But NBA last night, MLS soccer today. I understand. Today,
at one point, how long does it go? You know what I mean? Like, how long does this last? I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, I'm very concerned from the standpoint that we have we're down here, right? And we're not complaining, but wow, this is canceled, right? So you think about, the professional athletes, they're going to get paid. They get a salary, they're going to get paid. The guy working the concession stand selling you beer in your seat, the hourly wage guy, the guy that's in the parking lot taking your money to park your car, the people that clean the bathrooms in these venues in the cities where these huge stadiums are built that are now going to be empty and not used. The NCAA tournament, March Madness, done, closed. Sorry, we're just 2020 will be the year that there was not March Madness. However, there was March Madness. It's those are the things that are starting to concern me, because those are individuals that are going to start being affected on their bank book, on paying bank loans, their car payments, things that, the typical things that upset the needs and wants of individuals and their families. Those are the things that I don't feel like we can't let it go. I mean, at what point are we going to pull the plug? At what point are the companies going to start saying, all right, guys, we're closing?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what actually happens. Like, if this continues to go on, what's it going to do to everybody's racing? Obviously, most people in the world don't race for a living; they race for a hobby. So they own successful businesses or whatever. So if they're losing business, generally they stop racing. So is our car count's going to die over this, or what? So
I think completely off the record of anonymity. The individual I had a conversation with today, I really feel like that the regional folks, promoters and racetracks that are privately owned, not corporately owned, unless there's something that I'm just not aware of in the sanctioning body rules or Bible that says that, if NHRA pulls the plug and you're an NHRA sanctioned track with NHRA insurance or, so forth and so on by the bylaws, that if we're done, you're done. I got to think that a lot of these regional places are going to start picking up car counts, because it's going to be the only place to go race.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean,
I guess we can finish up this. We could go back and forth all day on this, but I'll just put in my last tidbit. Even the local track for Mosa Raceway, I was there last weekend for the March meet, and they canceled the rest. I mean, they suspended their schedule. They're not even opening up.
Oh, I did not hear that.
Yeah, they just posted it 15 minutes ago.
Oh, man. So, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, that's just, dude, remember, a couple weeks ago we had Jim Beaver on and we talked about iRacing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just going to say, Langdon commented on my thing. He's like, yeah, definitely stuck in Atlanta. And or was it Rebillis? I don't know. Somebody, he commented on something, and I wanted to say, good thing you got your iRacing machine out already.
Right. Dude, I mean, seriously, I'm going to be looking after we get done recording tonight. We went to lunch today, and Di's like, well, I guess we could always get a racing simulator and you could just race that way.
There you go.
I mean, hey, I'm just saying, it's crazy. It is just crazy. I don't know at what point that I feel like the media is fanning the flames, if you will, or, I mean, I just watched a a press release, VTC, for the Army. And the general says, look, the CDC says it's at low risk, but we're not going to be stupid. We're not going to go out here and we're not going to participate in large community events, but we're going to continue to recruit and do our job. And it's like, that's the kind of, that's like the kind of common sense approach that I feel like we're not getting. It's like, okay, all right. The CDC guy that was on earlier today, I was watching it on Twitter, and I was telling Di, he literally said everything that my grandmother taught me when I was a kid. Cover your mouth when you cough. I mean, wash your hands. I'm like, how true is that? I mean, so, and I know I'm making light of it because, I mean, hey, you better keep a sense of humor when the craziness happens. But nonetheless, it definitely happens.
Well, you mentioned something there, the Mint 400, and we had Jim Beaver on, and I mean, that's kind of a good segue into, they ran their event last weekend, and it was in Las Vegas. Why don't you bring up somebody that we could talk a little bit about that? They may have a little connection in that world, or media in general.
Hey, and that person would be another bigwig. I think we're like 3 weeks in a row that we have been lucky enough to score individuals that have 3 letters that go behind their name. And that would be the CEO, Mr. Matt Martelli. Sir, are you there?
Yeah. What's up, guys?
Well, we're over here talking to you with masks on.
Yeah. I've got my mouth covered. Don't worry.
Well, thank you, sir, for taking time out. I'm glad to see that you weren't quarantined out there after the big Mint 400 last weekend in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, our event is a low risk event. We're predominantly outdoors, so we definitely, admittedly, dodged a bullet in that. The hype and the craziness seems to be going, into third gear now. But yeah, I feel extremely lucky that we had a hugely successful event. We grew, over last year, another 30%. So it was a good year for us. We were affected by it though. Mostly there were some European teams and European media that were quarantined and not allowed to travel to the U.S. So that was a bummer, but all of them were watching our kick-ass live stream. So, there's always more than one way to skin a cat.
There you go. Positive spin on everything. Don, you should try that one day.
What, that positive spin?
Yeah.
Well, dude, seriously, my life is completely glass half empty, not half full.
I'm just kidding.
Well, Matt, I
need to try that.
Yeah, you need to try that. Matt, I know for one, your event came up this week in a call that I was on with a partner that was their first time out there, and that's the folks from NGK. They attended your event, and we were talking about how it was a different market, different event style as far as the attendees that were out there, and they enjoyed it for their first time. And I know for one that I watched the live stream as well, being the fact of the military challenge that you guys have. I would like to know more about that particular event and how that became part of your event with the military challenge. Me being an old Army guy, how does that work in to this event schedule for the Mint being out off road?
Well, let me first by giving a shout out to NGK. They came on this year as a sponsor and sponsored the Mini Mint, which is the youth racing that we launched this year, which is hugely important to us to get young people engaged in motorsports, not just off road, but motorsports in general. So we're stoked, to bring them into the fray of off road racing. But the question about the military challenge, so both my grandfather and my uncle are decorated military. I came very close to being, in the Navy SEAL program, but I decided that I'm a lover, not a killer. And and I live literally within eyesight of Camp Pendleton in Oceanside. So I grew up with a lot of friends that are in the military. I've got family in the military, and then as my brother and I, got into the promoter side of it, we started uncovering some interesting facts about off-road culture. And one of them was both the Eakins brothers, who did the first Peninsula run, that really the Mint Hotel, guys to send a couple of guys in buggies from the Mint Hotel to a sister hotel in Reno, Tahoe. They were veterans. They're World War II veterans. So in essence, this whole culture of off-road racing that we know now, and it's not just West Coast, it's globally. It's, all the stuff that's done with Dakar and Saudi Arabia and Morocco and South America. All of that came from that group of veterans who'd come back from World War II and were bored. So it's part of the DNA of off-road that people don't really talk about. And, there was another component to it, which was a lot of these guys that race with us are either active duty or veterans. And then both, my brother and I feel like, supporting the military ongoing is our cause, right? So most people don't realize or don't credit the fact that we are in war and have been in constant state. And we see it firsthand because we see these young men and women coming back, both wounded and then, of course, with, PTSD. And they're not really given any support or credit, because nobody is recognizing that we're in a war situation anymore. And war is, definitely changed. It's not the old way of, hey, we declare war and everybody charges down on the battlefield and there's a definitive start and finish. It's changed and it's constant. And, I feel like it's my duty, or it's our duty as Americans, to realize that and support our, veterans and active duty military, because they look, it's that old adage that freedom isn't free, so we've got to support these men and women and know that, we love them, we respect them, and that we've got their back, because they definitely are putting their lives on the line to have our back. We part of the military challenge was to raise money and awareness, and I could tell you how close it's hitting to home. One of the groups that we had out with us is the Marine Raider group, and they lost 2 soldiers over the weekend while we were racing at the Mint 400. They lost two of their top guys in Iraq fighting ISIS. And so it's that realization, that kind of sobering realization that, we can't pretend like this isn't happening, and can't pretend that veterans and active duty are not a part of our everyday life and our culture. They are, and they're an important part. And so it's our way of, going, what, we recognize this, we recognize them, we're supporting them, and, helping raise some funds so that they can have some help with dealing with medical issues, with dealing with PTSD, all the things that come along with that. So we were able to raise a little bit over $100,000, which frankly, drop in the bucket, but it's a start. And we will be doing this at every event that we have. One last aspect to it was that, we invited actual uncles to come out, and they did. And so we had the first military class vehicle win, which was the P-22 Flyer. And then, in second place was the updated version of the Flyer, which was, in all the videos, and it was being piloted, and they were rolling with weaponry, with unloaded weaponry. And those guys went out. That's and they cool. did 2 laps. Yeah, they did 2 laps of the gnarliest course in off-road, and they towed people out and had a blast doing it. And to be fair to them, I didn't think they were going to make it to the first pit through 30 miles, and they did. They persevered. So, again, it was really cool. It's like, for us, it's really important to, as Americans, to support our active duty and veterans, to support our military.
Well, that was, I noticed that there was a lot of social media about it, and that's really cool that you guys are taking, the type of activation and involvement, because it is. I mean, and I'm not saying it because I'm a military guy, but I am a military brat I think that makes me like the fourth generation. Fourth. You can't not ever not give the military community their props. And every community has bad apples, but there are way more good apples when it comes to the military community than there is bad. And you're absolutely right. It's not free. And we take for granted a lot of different things in the civilian world that military folks look at and it's okay. It's day to day. It's time to go. It's the job. So that's really cool that you guys do that. Like I said, that was my first exposure to it. I was watching it on social media. And when it came up, I was like, oh, I got to ask Matt about this because I want to know. Because, of course, the Mint 400 and the big pros, they take center stage, but it was really cool. And I didn't realize that you guys raised $100,000. So that's
huge just in one event. That's awesome.
Yeah, especially for charity.
Absolutely. So a lot of people, I think we kind of skipped over this part because that's just unfortunately how we roll. But so Matt not only is in charge and head of the Mint 400 racing series, I guess. Is that considered a best in the desert deal, or what? Like, what do you umbrella that under now?
We are our own sanctioning body. We are not part of Best in the Desert. Standalone event now.
So as a lot of you guys, I guess we can back up a little bit. Aside from you doing the Mint 400 and being your own sanctioning body and all that stuff, like where Mad Media was kind of created was a content generating machine. And tell us a little bit about that aspect of your business, because it basically, in my eyes, being a California guy, like kind of revolutionized the world on how people look at content with cars and stuff. So for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about what you guys did, because we did a lot with the RJ Anderson stuff when you guys created that whole Razor deal with Polaris, and then obviously Ken Block and the Gymkhana stuff. So tell us your guys' mastermind behind something like that.
Sure. Well, first off, I'd like to say it was a master plan, but it wasn't. No, I mean, look, our background is in action sports, and so we had always wanted to make a skateboard video with a car, right? It's that simple. And I grew up with Ken Block, and after he sold DC shoes, he had enough money to go rally racing, and that process started. But both him and Travis Pastrana were racing, and they really couldn't get the financial support that they needed, and so we were trying to figure out ways to justify rally racing and really show people how remarkable it was. And, as you guys know, rally racing is a difficult sport to spectate. You have to be committed. So there's magic out there. You just have to go hike down a trail and find it. and then do it on the next stage, and so on and so forth. So it eliminates a lot of people who want to sit in a comfortable chair and have a beer handed to them and, all that stuff. So we came up with the concept of Gymkhana to really showcase the capabilities of, a rally car, a rally driver, and create a remarkable piece of content that everybody would look at and go, oh, I get it. Now I'm going to go watch rally racing, right? And that's what it's really born out of. And, fortunately, Ken is a maverick marketing person, and he just never stops thinking about stuff, right? It's almost the point where it's annoying. And, he put his own money into building the car and the Gymkhana car and really talking about it. And it was a really funny conversation evolution, because what I had seen of the discipline of Gymkhana before was really lame. It was really boring, but it was his idea to to build this high horsepower car and make it feel more like drifting. And, we had a lot of good arguments back and forth about, that wasn't true rally, and we didn't show, significant jumps, and, but those are all things later on we evolved to. But it was really, born out of that idea. And once it caught fire, we really understood what we had. And so then, pushing forward and making Gymkhana 1 through 3 was like a no brainer. And really it went back to our skateboarding roots of, and this is how we approached all the XP1K videos and everything else we do, is we create a list of stunts that we think the vehicle is capable of, and, and build out a project and driver and such from there. And we still do that. I mean, there's 3 or 4 projects that we have in the queue right now that, as they get to the point of completion, people will be pretty stoked. But, I think, for us, we're automotive racing enthusiasts. So, I'm standing here in my office looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 razors, and that are in various stages of builds for different projects. And, we thoroughly understand the vehicle dynamics as well as the driver dynamics, right? And what we're out to capture. If you called me and said, "Hey, we need a commercial for tennis," I would not be the right person, right? I think the Atchell sisters are hot, but other than that, I don't know anything about tennis, right? So, I think that that's what it takes. It takes this kind of approximation to the discipline, as well as just almost like an obsessive passion for what it is to see this through. Because I can tell you, creating these projects is not easy. We have to start with, we spend well over $1 million on these projects. So first you got to get somebody to give you $1 million to basically wreck vehicles, and, and then nobody's going to help you with the content. Cause when we started Gymkhana 1, YouTube had just started, right? So part of the viralness in the beginning is, one, there was nothing like it. And even at that point, YouTube didn't know what they were doing, right? So now everything's much more throttled and controlled so that you have to pay. So there's a lot more challenges to overcome now. But I will say this, there's so much yet to be done, or so much, to be unlocked in terms of value in automotive. It's crazy. Like, I don't understand why there isn't a Gymkhana in, flat track racing and, bikes and all these different things. Like, there's been little videos, and some of them actually have been fairly cool, but they're not at the same level. And it kind of shocks me, because the one thing about Gymkhana is that the formula is there. It's visible, right? It's like we just gave away the pizza and everybody can look at it and go, "Oh, there's cheese and pepperoni and a crust. Oh, we got it. It's a pizza," right? And that's really what, that type of content is. It's not, super complex, but it is more difficult now to wow people than it was in the past. The last, XP1K video we're backflipping UTVs, which was, to be honest, scary as shit. So, there's no way to candy coat, flipping a 2,000 pound vehicle with a human being in it isn't a good business plan. So, that's the thing, is like, there's still yet a lot to be done. There's a lot of good creators out there now who've now gotten into this because of what we did originally. And I'm stoked for that. But there's, we've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah. Especially now, all these guys just being psychos with what they do. Like, some of this, like, growing up around SoCal, I mean, it seems like every time you turn around, somebody's doing something, and, jumping over freeway passes, just with their electric bikes now and all this stuff. And it's cool to see people finally starting to branch out of the box. Like you said, in doing the Gymkhana style versus just, like you said, flat track, and like all these moto people seem to they're right on the verge, and it'll be cool to see what ends up happening with all that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between, what we're trying to do and stunts, right? So like the Evel Knievel stuff, like, it's not sustainable, right? Like even
Right.
I'll use freestyle motocross as an example. Like freestyle motocross is at a point where like every time you have a competition, you're almost going to die, right?
Mhm. Absolutely.
So, it's like one of those things where part of the reason why X Games has backed away from it is like they don't want to kill people on live television, and so I think you got to measure all that stuff and kind of look at it and go, okay, this is this is sustainable or this is not sustainable. And really what we're after is, everybody who's a fan of any motorsport sees these moments where the driver and the car are one. And it's magical, right? So it's how do we capture those moments and how do we capture those moments and showcase them with everybody else?
Thank you for downloading today's episode of Racers and Rental Cars podcast, brought to you by MotionRaceworks.com. Stop by MotionRaceworks.com for all of your high performance needs. If you need to go fast, MotionRaceworks.com. Hey, Cam.
Yes, Don.
Do you ever think about how crammed your trailer is when you go race?
Dude, all the time. Race cars, golf carts, jets, Power Wheels, and all of his toys, his little dirt bikes, his Strider bikes, all that stuff. I'm crammed. But I'm sure everybody in motorsports is feeling the same way.
Well, now our audience has someone to call. They need to call Lance at lbtrailers.com. Lance is carrying over 70 motorsports haulers in stock, options from top to bottom. We always talk about looking the part in motorsports, traveling up and down the road and at the track. Now you can look the part with LB Trailer Sales. Go to online to lbtrailers.com or stop by Facebook at LB Trailer Sales. You have a friend in the trailer business, and make sure to tell them that Racers and Rental Cars sent you.
Do you want to win a Racers and Rental Cars t-shirt absolutely free? Well, we're giving one away this week. All you got to do is visit LB Trailer Sales Facebook page, like it, and leave a Racers and Rental Cars comment. That's all you got to do. Cam and Don are going to pick one very lucky winner and send out a free t-shirt. So go to LB Trailer Sales Facebook page, like it, and leave a Racers and Rental Cars comment.
Well, so I want to back up because you touched on something that was on my sheet about the process, and you are like really embedded in the off-road stuff as far, like you said, the razors and so forth. But you talk about the projects, and so I'm sitting over here and I was thinking about if I had money and I wanted to do off the wall video content to create for drag racing, and I call Matt up and I say, Matt, I want to just do this badass drag racing video.
Right.
How does Matt and his team's process start? Like, how long does it take from start to finish, besides trying to find the $1 million? I mean, given, but how long does your process of creativity and so forth go?
I mean, it's about a year, but even the driver, like, here's one of the things that we learned early on with Ken is that, that was actually supposed to be Pastrana in the car. And at the time, Pastrana was crashing so many cars, while he was getting up to speed with Rally. And that combined with, kind of his jackass antics, Subaru they didn't understand his value. Right. So it ended up being Ken. And then again, that was again, because Ken was the forward thinker and, especially in marketing. So he understood, why it needed to be done and was willing to put up his own money. So it has to be the right guy. And it was the irony of it is that really Ken was not the right guy. It should have been Pastrana. It would have been easier, right? From a sales standpoint. So, you got to start with the right athlete, right? Like, can you do something without the right athlete? You can. But if you look at how social media has skewed now, it's really more, personality based than it is just straight content. Now there's a ton of, content out there, but the people that are being more successful on social media are people that have really good personalities, and you want to get up every morning and check their social media and see what they're doing. You know what I mean? So that's the first part of it. And then that process just, what we try and do is break down what the, what makes like drag racing, like what is remarkable, what are those moments that we can break down, and how do we put them into context so that a dude who doesn't care about racing at all can look at them and understand them, and then we start building out stunts, one after another. And then we try and get everything, work together in a way that we think is going to end up becoming a powerful, end piece.
How many failed at, like, say for instance, like when RJ did the backflip in the Polaris, like how many attempts did that actually take?
30 not the actual attempt that we shot. It was a one take attempt, right? Wow. He did 2 takes, right? The first one he under rotated and stuffed it a bit. And then the second one he nailed, but we had been practicing for two weeks in a foam pit. So, these are all the crazy logistical things that people don't realize is like, okay, bitchin', like you want to backflip a car and not kill somebody. Yeah. Great.
Who's got a foam pit?
You got to find a guy with a foam pit, right? And then you've got to have, even in practice, you got to have an ambulance and a fire truck, because guess what burns? Foam, right? you're putting a hot vehicle with fuel into a foam pit. It's a really just bad idea. So, and then you have to have a crane, because now you got to crane them out of there. So it's a production, right? And it's expensive. So, accomplishing these things when you sit out and you go, yeah, we're going to backflip a car. I've seen some dude do it at a carnival, whatever, right? No big deal. Well,
Spanky Spangler.
Right. So what do you want it to look like? And then the other thing is, like, when my brother and I we start with visualization, then we draw stuff out. And I'm like, you don't want to backflip that's like 3 feet off the ground. You want to backflip 15 feet in the air. Right? People have seen motorcycles backflip 30, 40, 50 feet in the air. So how are you going to show up with a UTV and do it 5 feet in the air? People are going to be like, meh. Right? So then how do you build a ramp that does that breaks away and does that, and actually gets the car to rotate correctly, and all these different things. So it's this crazy problem solving thing that you have to accomplish, and it's not easy, but I'll tell you, it is a ton of fun, and getting to that point where when you accomplishment, it's an unbelievable feeling, especially when you don't kill anybody.
Yeah, you call that success.
Yeah, well, in the case of RJ, I was like, I'm friends with him, and I'm friends with his family, so I'm thinking about, what because I've crashed him into stuff before, and I had to call his mom and go, Carol, like he's okay. We're going to have him, we're going to get an MRI just to be sure, but
it's not that bad. I promise.
Yeah. Like, how do you sell that to a mom? You're basically the devil at that point.
You hurt my baby.
Yeah.
It's like when I was a kid, I used to always have to go run to my mom, like gushing blood, bones sticking out of me. Is it bad? Is it bad? And she'd be like, okay, let's get in the car.
Yeah.
Time to go to the ER. Yeah.
So, and that's the thing is, like, we're very conscious of that. And we, that goes back to the sustainability. It's like we learned from freestyle motocross in working in that in early days. It's like guys went from jumping, 100 feet to 200 feet to like crazy 600 feet. And it's like, you didn't need to go from 200 to 600, guys. We could go 220. We go 210, right?
Go big.
It was just all of a sudden these guys were just going crazy. And, at that point, it was like they didn't have any medical insurance or any sponsors or any of that, right? They were just doing it for fame with the hopes that they would get that. And they didn't really work that way, you know? So, you know, when we look at the stuff we're doing, we go, okay, we know where the absolute limit is. Let's back it down and still wow people, but let's have a path to, you know, do multiple pieces so that we can, you know, create a franchise.
Matt, at PRI, you were part of a sponsorship seminar with Alex and Jim and a few other folks. Let's take the marketing approach now. Let's talk about drivers. Let's talk about racing drivers and sponsorships. You've been doing this for over 30 years, so you've seen a lot come and go. Not that Cam and I have been doing this that long, even though I think we both probably have. I've
seen a lot come and go in my short time.
Oh, I'm not lying. Yeah. Somebody said, "Hey, what do you wish that you would have known about?" And I'm like, everything.
Sure, all of it.
What an idiot I am to be in motorsports. Anyway, give us 2 quick ones that you feel like today's generation of race car drivers are missing out on that they need to do better when it comes to acquiring sponsors.
The first one is the big R, relationships, right? Like, I can't tell you how many, you know, deals get done just because you have a relationship with a sponsor and they like you, they're invested into you. So that's a huge one that's overlooked, right? The other one, though, is that, you know, the whole world has changed. And, you know, drivers can't look at themselves as drivers. They have to look at themselves as a brand. So think like, you know, like your local store. How would your local store operate? Or how would, let's use a brand, right? Like Nike. Like, would Nike do that? No. So content is a big part of, you know, having a brand. So from the minute you decide that you're going to pursue sponsorship and you want to be a professional driver, you've basically decided to become a brand. And so from that point forward, you have to brand manage yourself. And that's everything. It's how you dress. It's your social media posts. It's, you know, what your emails are. I got an email from a racer the other day, and, you know, it was like, party with your pants off at AOL.com, you know, and I'm like, you're sending that to sponsors. You've already shot yourself in the foot. So it should be your name at yourname.com. You know, it's like, get your program together before you go talk to these people. Because, you know, it's funny. I use this analogy all the time, but having sponsors is like dating women, right? If you show up all disheveled and you don't have a game plan and you're just winging it, they know it, right? And the likeliness of them going along with that is pretty low. But if you show up and you've got your program together and you've got your lines and you've got everything, you're going to be pretty successful. There's a lot of money out there and there's a lot of sponsors out there, and there's all sorts of different reasons why they choose to sponsor a driver or a team. It's not just ROI. ROI is definitely important, but that's not all it is. So you have to really, you know, treat yourself and run yourself like you're a brand, like you're a business, and approach it that way from day one. And that takes discipline. And I get it. It's hard. It's like, how do you race and then also be a content group, right? Which is what you need to be now. And, you know, some people hire third parties to help them out. Some do it all themselves, you know. I was at a conference a while ago with the Hook It guys, and they were measuring the entire Nike team. And, you know, of course, it's, you know, some of the usual suspects, you know, the biggest soccer player in the world, the biggest NBA player in the world. But in that top 5 was a female skateboarder from Brazil. And everybody was kind of shocked. But what she was able to do was, you know, create content based around her, like her personality. It was authentic. And it worked, you know, it let people into her life. It let people like her. It showed her flaws. But it also was like one of those things where it was very different than, the very curated content that a lot of athletes have, where it's like, you can tell it's not them posting that content, and it's very whitewashed, right? So, is the answer to go crazy on your social media and do a bunch of wild stuff? I don't think so, because I don't think that that's sustainable ultimately. But I think that, the big thing is you have to treat yourself like a brand.
Yeah, I like that. We talk about that a lot on the show, actually. So it's good to have, people in high places such as yourself reiterate what we try to get across.
And frankly, we need it. One of the takeaways, one of the guys who was a mentor to me in skateboarding, Steve Rocco, what he identified in skateboarding was there needed to be different characters, right? Like we can't have, one of the things that held skateboarding back in the 70s was every skateboarder kid was blonde hair, blue eyed from Southern California. Right. So it really didn't appeal to the whole world because that's not what everybody looks like. Right. Mm-hmm. So once skateboarding started becoming ethnically diverse, women started skateboarding, inner city kids started skateboarding, like that made it a global phenomena instead of a SoCal phenomena. Right. And so, don't be afraid to be yourself and be different. We need that character set in order to appeal to people. As you can see with a lot of the issues that NASCAR has, there's 12 of those guys who I don't know if they all look like clones of each other. And that's not what made NASCAR what it is today. It's characters and it's brands and having differentiation between those brands.
I couldn't agree more. And like Cam said, we talk about nonstop about certain things that it makes us wonder sometimes, because we talk about it on a podcast that drops on Saturday, and Sunday afternoon you're watching Instagram and somebody's just, or Facebook, somebody's just bashing a company like there's no tomorrow. And it's like, okay, like you said, would Nike do that? Would the grocery store brand down the street do that? No, they wouldn't do that. Why are you doing that? But your authentic hits home, because I have been watching Haley Deegan just climb the social media charts as far as value. Yeah. And so I think today's Thursday. So I think it was Tuesday morning, maybe she posted on Instagram her hair extensions laying on the dash of her truck. And she's like, I wondered where those were. It's like, right. You can't get more authentic, and real than that. And she's, again, she's making fun of herself, and it's not the, high glam life. And she's doing it. And I totally agree that, you can't have whitewash content. You gotta have some craziness in there and let people in so that they know a little bit about who you are. So,
sure.
Totally.
No, I think Haley's she's a great example and a great one to watch. And, fortunately she has her father guiding her, and he's definitely a master of it, of brand management and content. And, with all disclosure, I'm close with them. So, I've spent years with Brian and then Haley and his kids and his family. And, I'm really stoked to see her success. The great thing about her, though, is that she's not just a pretty face.
She can back it up.
She can drive. And I think she's the beginning of a whole wave of women that can also do that aren't there to be like, hey, I got in here because I'm a girl. They're coming to beat everybody, and I'm looking forward to it because, personally, I know that even in the sport that we do, it is not, there's probably a disadvantage to being a man, because I know when people pass me, I kind of lose it, and we allow nerfing in our sport. So that's the first thing that I want to do is I want to nerf them and then pass them. So, she's a good one to watch. She's doing a lot of stuff right. content wise, and just the good combination of produced content and really her being herself. And I get it for a lot of the racers out there. It's like, okay, now you got to wake up every day and think about, what are you posting throughout the day to keep people engaged? It's a challenge, right? But your value is going to be higher than it was than if you were just a racer. We have a very famous racer, our greatest off-road racer of all times, who's struggling right now with sponsorship, and it's insane because his name's Rob McCachran. This guy is won more races, still winning races, and unfortunately, recently he got dropped by Rockstar, but nobody immediately jumped on him. And part of that challenge is that, he comes from the old school of shut up and race your car, and that doesn't work anymore. There's younger guys that don't even come close. I'll give you an example, like BJ Baldwin. He doesn't come close to being, to having the record that Rob does, right? He never will. But right now, BJ's worth more money because of his social media reach. So it's kind of the world's a little bit turned on its head. But, then again, I look at it and I go, well, I guess we started all this with Ken. But to us, that there's a happy medium of, being a good driver, getting, race victories, and then being able to go back it up with good content. That's the magical part. And I to be frank, in motorsports, I'm a little surprised that there's not more people that have realized that and have implemented it. It's like, again, we looked at a Hookit report that was done measuring all motorsports athletes, and Ken is still so much farther ahead than even any Formula One star, which, I mean, you guys know what those budgets are. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just chop off, 10, 20, 40 million to do content, and you'll probably get somewhere. But for whatever reason, they're just not doing it.
Couldn't agree more with that. Well, Matt, we have kept you. We appreciated you coming on the show. But on our podcast, you got to answer 2 questions before you head out the door. The first one is, you get to send one Christmas card to somebody in motorsports. Who are you sending it to?
Well, Dale, of course.
I like it. Question number 2, you get to send one WTF card to somebody in motorsports. Who is it?
Oh, man. Probably Bernie Ecclestone.
All right. Tell our listeners about Bernie Ecclestone.
Well, he was not necessarily the founder of F1, but he's the guy who built it into what it is, and then a couple of years ago sold it off. So it's just interesting character, and I'd love to sit and have some whatever he's drinking with him and pick his brain.
Oh, all right. Well, there we go. Now I'm going to have to go research that, because it sounds like that might have had a little salt in your wound there.
No, it's all good.
Well, Matt, tell our listeners where they can find everything about your company and what you're doing.
Sure. It's pretty easy. madmedia.com and then themint400.com. We just started a new platform that you can also get a lot of information about off-road racing called offroadracer.com.
Well, Matt, I really appreciate you coming on. And I'm sure I'll see, if I don't see you at a racetrack somewhere east of the Mississippi, I don't know if you come that far, I'm sure we will catch up at PRI if the virus doesn't keep us all from being able to attend.
Yeah, well, the virus isn't going to stop me. And I have to travel east of the Mississippi for Italian food, because we've got Mexican food figured out here, but I don't know what happened to the Italian food.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Well, that means, you need to put on your schedule to come to the NHRA Nationals at Gateway in St. Louis and let us know, because my owners love to frequent like 3 of the best Italian restaurants on the hill in St. Louis. So we will definitely get you hooked up with that.
I'm in 100%, brother.
Matt, thanks again, man. We really appreciate you coming on. And
thank you. And maybe we'll see you. My sister lives in Carlsbad, so maybe I'll see you cruising around one of these days. So
hit me up.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Thanks, Matt.
Guys. All right. See you.
Cam, there you go. You cannot, again, every time we have somebody on that's an executive, it's what they do. And they reiterate our thought processes and how we go about and what advice we give. It just makes you feel a little better that you're doing it right, even if it's not completely happening all at once.
True. Yeah, no, that's just it. It's like, I mean, we sit here and we preach on this show, all this stuff, and it's not to try to be jerks. It's try to help you guys. And, you know, I'm not saying that I have all the answers. I mean, shit, I don't have 50,000 followers. I don't even have 10,000. I'm pretty close, but I could even work at it more than I do, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of things that I feel that I do wrong. And, you know, I sometimes I sit here and I'm like, man, I just talked about that. And I should probably do that myself. Like, you know, so, you know, we're just all out here trying to make it. We're all just out here trying to eat. And, yeah. So if anything that we do can potentially help you guys do that, like, hell yeah, you know?
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, and it's every day. It's something. I've got legal tablets that are around the laptop that I write things on that I'm like, man, I want to do this or I want to do that. And I need to figure out time to do this. And it is. And you heard him talk about, you know, getting third parties to help and so forth. And I mean, it is always a grind to try to find the time to video your content, put it together, you know, whatever the case is, share it, keep things relevant, excuse me. And so, yeah, it's a tough thing, but if you keep at it, it'll happen. It'll happen. Like all good things, just keep at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in that.
All right. Well, yeah, because perseverance is right before professional.
You can say that again.
Just saying. Well, this week we've got, listeners, our audience, we're going to be doing some different spots that are going to come. We've got some new sponsors that are coming in and out of our show that we're excited about as we add them to our roster, our ever growing roster with Motion Raceworks and LB Trailer Sales. Of course, but we've got a couple others. But this week I got a phone call from old Lance Brandon down at LB Trailers, and he's very gracious. He's very happy that people are going over to the Facebook page and liking and commenting, and they're, you know, people are mentioning our show when they're, you know, he's sending emails or so forth. But he said now now it's race season. He says now he wants people to know if you got trailer issues, he's got trailer parts. That was what he told me. He's like, look, racing season's going. He said, I understand not a whole lot of people are buying trailers as racing season starts. He goes, but trailers be falling apart. Trailers be breaking down. I got trailer parts. That's what he said.
I like that. That's awesome.
So, for our listeners, keep going over to Facebook. The
man with a plan.
That's it. Keep going over to Facebook, like it, comment, let Lance and his team know that you heard all about them on Racers and Rental Cars. And by all means, please go to Motion Raceworks and let Doug and his whole entire staff know they're over there for all your LS, LT, high performance. They got it all. I think that I need to get Doug and Lance hooked up because Doug's team made that Motion Raceworks safety checklist. I don't know if you saw that, Cam, for your race cars. You haven't seen that yet? After the past couple races you've had, we might need to get that checklist for you.
Oh, shit.
Just saying, not trying to throw you under the bus or anything, but, stop over to Motion Raceworks, check out their safety checklist. I think it's an awesome idea. I printed one off myself to be able to get ready to go for the first race. Can never be too safe, obviously, speaking of coronavirus, being safe. But what you got over there, Cam? Now, hey, your weekend's open.
Yeah, I got nothing. I don't even really know what to say, to be honest. I can't go to work. I can't go race. I guess me and Jed are going to sit in the garage and do donuts in the go-kart, I guess.
No. Wait a minute. Hold on. My wife noticed the other day, Jet got an electric bike.
He did.
And guess what? Did you notice that I'm on the bike?
You're on the bike.
You didn't know I'm on the bike, did you?
No.
My wife pointed it out as soon as she saw it. I'm on the bike, my friend. Turn around and look at the bike. I want everybody to know that Cam's looking at the bike right now for how Don is on the bike. What does that freaking handlebar pad say? It says O'Neal, you knucklehead.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the razor one that it came with was lame, and I had one sitting in the top drawer of my toolbox from my old dirt bike, and I was like, I'll just put this one on there.
That's right.
Yeah. Nah, dude, he freaking loves it, man. He was psyched. He's like, I'm sure people saw the videos, but yeah, we ride it. Well, it's raining today, but yeah, usually every day when I go pick him up after work, we do a hot lap around the community. So
there you go. Yes. No, we noticed.
Loves it. Yesterday we did a lap around and all the neighbors were out, like all the neighbors know Jed, obviously, and because he runs around in the courtyards and stuff. And our neighbor's got this dog. It's like this little like teacup something or other, and Jed loves it. No, this one's, I forget what kind it is, but it's actually a good looking dog, but it's just super tiny. And so it's jet sized. So he loves playing with it. And the dog's name is Bunny. So he's sitting on his little dirt bike, and I was talking to his owner, and he's like, Bunny, and he's like, Momo, brap. The dog's like freaking out. Yeah. I'm about to put like a tin can on the wheels or something, because the whole electric thing's a little weird. But I mean, the neighbors are way more appreciative, I guess.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, that works. Yep. I know Angie will be happy to have you in for the weekend. You can get caught up on your distant learning lesson plans for your online school at Cheetos College.
Figure that out.
Now it's really actually starting to line up. Cheetos College and online. Just saying. They're coming together, my friend. It's a marketing.
Call me Chester Cheeto.
Oh man. Well, I am going to continue on with my trailer maintenance as I am trying to get ready as the days are slowly going by. If anybody wants to come by and hold on to a buffer and help me wax and buff my 50-foot long freaking trailer over the course of this weekend in the next 7 days, by all means, please come by.
I sent some of my students over. I just taught them. Some of them have buffed the other night.
Oh, well, there we go. We can have lab.
Yeah, just make sure. Yeah, remotely. There you go.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you what I tell them. What? Make sure you buff it like Jimmy.
That's it.
Yeah,
buff it like Jimmy. Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, Jimmy Buffett.
Oh my God, that is such a lame.
And they're all like, "Huh?
Who's what? Jimmy?
Who's Jimmy? Who's Buffett? Jimmy." I'm like, dude, you guys don't know who Jimmy Buffett is? Get the hell out of here. Get out of my class. Go now. Yeah,
absolutely.
To the door.
Not a chance. No, for sure. And what's really bad is, I mean, other than NASCAR, I have no racing to watch this weekend.
Yeah, sounds like you're buying a simulator.
Dude, the simulator's Facebook online search will be happening significantly this weekend for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. Nonetheless, Cam, I wasn't here last week. Got to give a huge shout out to JT and you for putting the show together. I apologize. Thank you to everyone who sent their well wishes and messages and texts as we spent a glorious 8-day vacation in the hospital in Evansville, which they were gracious to us. We had Panera 3 times a day and did not sit by the pool. So we are back in the fight, and I greatly appreciate you guys carrying the torch for us last week. Hopefully we can keep those torch issues to a minimum in 2020.
Yeah, our pleasure. I'm glad she's doing better. And yeah, on that note, like I'm done with this. I'm out of here. I don't know what I'm going to go do, stare at the wall or something, but yeah, I've had enough of you. I'm going to go now.
Hey, drop the mic, give the sponsor mentions. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, go on YouTube, follow us, go buy something in the store. Yeah. I got medical bills.
Just considering, because he's got medical bills, and considering the fact that I won't be working. So, yeah, we're pretty much screwed. So if you guys want to buy a hoodie or a t-shirt to, keep the lights on for us, we'd appreciate that.
Brian, get the coronavirus masks coming.
Yeah. Ooh, there we go.
We're a little late to the party right now.
I know, but that's a good one. But like Don said earlier, thanks to Motion Raceworks, LB Trailers, Performance Data Systems, and yeah, Don, our producers, Brian and JT, Voice America. We greatly appreciate it. Later.
See ya.
Let's